Mr. Hicks, very nice to speak with you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matthew.
I saw The Lucky One at a critic screening last week. I got to see Leonard Maltin and Joe Morgenstern, and everyone was there. Todd McCarthy.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, you know how to make a very well-polished love story, sir.
Well, that's great to hear. Thank you for that, because, it's a kind of a departure in a way, and it's very encouraging to hear that reaction.
Yeah, and you know what I find is very interesting, and I this is my first question for you off the bat. You're Scott Hicks, big-time movie director, Oscar-nominated director for Shine, Snow Falling on Cedars, Hearts in Atlantis with Anthony Hopkins, No Reservations, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Aaron Eckhart. I mean, people, and then, of course, I love, you did some music videos that I've seen that I really enjoy, like the In Excess.
Right.
Okay, now, you come to The Lucky One. You got Zach Effron, and out of nowhere, this Taylor Schilling, who's fantastic in the film. How, as a director, do you relate to the story, and where does it come from that you could make a really good love story?
Well, the thing was, basically I was sent the screenplay by Warner Brothers and Denise Denovi, and I was really hooked in by the premise of the story about this Marine who, finds this photograph in the thick of battle and comes to believe that the young woman in the picture has somehow, saved his life. She's like a lucky charm to him. And when he gets home, he decides to find her and tell her, to thank her for saving him. And I just thought there was such an intriguing premise for a love story. It totally sort of hooked me, and the fact that it turns into a romance is a really, I really enjoyed that part of it, and the challenge was then how to cast it. To find. Zach Effron was so enthusiastic and eager to play the part, and that really energized me, because I thought, I need that as a director. I've got to have that energy. But finding someone to play opposite him was the challenge, because you're looking for that intangible element, that chemistry, that sort of connection between people. And so when I put Taylor Schilling together with Zach, and I saw the sparks flew, I thought, great. Now I really have the elements to be able to tell a romance.
So you guys did a chemistry test then with Zach and Taylor?
Exactly. It was just exactly that. And, because the thing is, you can't kind of manufacture that. You know what I mean? It's either there or it's not. And so you have to really, you do have to test for it. And Taylor being really an unknown quantity in cinema, you can do a full screen test, where sometimes if you're working with a bigger star or whatever, you don't screen test, and you have to take things on faith. How many
actresses do you think you screened that you tested with Zach?
Well, in the end, I sort of put up a group of small selection of auditions for Warner Brothers executives, the top people to look at. Actually, all the other actresses were much better known, had much bigger sort of names than Taylor, but it was clear to those people as well that this connection with Zach was and just her own acting ability was so powerful.
Yeah.
But they totally sort of endorsed my choice, which was great.
Is it a relief that a studio like Warner Brothers gets behind you when you want to cast an unknown quantity, as you put it, in cinema like Taylor Schilling with Zach Effron?
Indeed, it was. Because when you're working on a studio picture like this, it's important to bring everyone along with you, and not to sort of let the film become an orphan, because nobody feels they own it with you. And so and they also ultimately can determine the outcome of these choices. So as director, you have to be ready to articulate your thoughts and your reasons and hope that you can bring people to your point of view.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you too about the casting. I mean, Zach Effron in this movie reminds me of a young John Travolta in many ways, especially in this film. I think he has a very wide range of acting ability. If anyone just thought he was a singing, dancing kid, this movie definitely proves that wrong. And I think one of the key things, though, was you casted Blythe Danner to... I feel like she gave Zach and Taylor Schilling both a little rub, a little of that veteran rub, if you will. And,
yes, you're quite right.
Yeah, was it your idea from reading the script that you wanted Blythe, or how did that come about?
Well, just you've said to the first part of your question. I think I agree with you about Zach's potential as an actor, and I mean doing this role was a stretch for him. He knew he was stepping well out of his comfort zone as an actor, and I admired him for that. And he had the work ethic to do the preparation, and not only physically, to turn out, make his body turn into that of a Marine, but mentally in his preparation and sort of finding that character, because the character of Logan is so different to him. He's very kind of withdrawn and uncommunicative, and all the opposite to Zach, really. And so that was a great indication to me that he has the hallmarks of an actor of longevity. He will have a great career because he's willing to take on new challenges, and he has the goods. And then you put a wonderful veteran like Blythe into the mix, and you're right. I mean, something does rub off, and it creates a different sort of feel. And I love that as a filmmaker, creating that sort of ensemble of performers who are going to interact, and each one will impact on the other's performance in a different way,
Yeah, and I had a question for you also about the story. Obviously, you read the story as a director, and obviously you had to be in love with it from the get-go to want to direct it. But my question for you is, obviously, this is a cinematic love story. I mean, this is a guy that is walking around the country looking for a girl. What are the odds? One of those kind of stories. But is this supposed to be a love story? Like, are you telling us, in a way, you and Nicholas Sparks and all the fine people that he put together this picture, are you trying to tell us what love should be? Because I kind of got a feeling watching this. This is what love should be. This movie.
Oh, that's a great thing to say. I'm going to steal that. I love that idea. But I think the thing that sort of really what struck me more than that was I loved the fact that Sparks chose to use that element of chance, or some people call it fate or destiny, whatever you like.
Yeah.
But the idea that a chance discovery like Logan finding that photograph in the desert, after a firefight in the war, and that changing his life, and not only his life, but the lives of a whole group of people that he discovers. I found that really intriguing, and it made me reflect on my own life, and the random things that have happened in my life that have changed the course of it. And I think in a way we all have that somewhere in our history. We could point to moments where, what if I hadn't stopped at that stoplight, or I'd run across that street, or if I'd turned right instead of left, I would never have met him or her, or this wouldn't have happened to me. And a whole life can change in that sort of in that blink of an eye. which Logan talks about. And that's what really drew me in. The fact that it led to this love story was the next element,
Yeah, I figured that. I figured that was a part of it. And then, what else I thought was very interesting, and I know the people I saw the film with did as well. A lot of this movie, you're shooting in the light. Now, I'm assuming you shot this on location down south somewhere.
Yes, it was all shot in Louisiana, as it turns out.
Louisiana, okay. And there's a lot of light. Is it tough to film when you have to go by sunlight? Like, was there any problems with that?
Well, no, we were very lucky by and large. I mean, the light was very beautiful for a start. The landscape is just gorgeous. Without a doubt, when you're reliant on daylight and sunlight, natural sunlight, there is an element of gamble involved. But barring one or two exceptions, I mean, we were very, very fortunate, and we had a lot of beautiful weather. And there's a lot of also, I mean, the house in the film, which is set outside of New Orleans, and there's so much character in that house.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of interiors to do there too. So you always had somewhere to go if the weather wasn't kind of quite right for the exteriors. Because otherwise, we just wanted to shoot at the most beautiful times of day if we could, and
we nailed
capture
that.
the magic of the place.
Yeah, you definitely got that. I was curious because I've seen all your films. I'm a big fan of your work, honestly. And I thought it was very interesting. I don't remember recalling, maybe in Hearts of Atlantis, but I don't recall ever seeing a Scott Hicks action scene, like hard action. And there's this, I'm not going to give away the ending, but there's a big action scene in the end of the film. Funny enough, it reminded me of William Friedkin doing The Sorcerer. With the bridge and all that. Okay. What's it like for you when you get to step out and do a scene like that, which is and then of course the beginning of the film with the Marines and
the war scenes.
Yeah, what's it like doing that?
The attraction actually was that there were these challenging sort of elements I've never confronted as a director before, and the war scenes absolutely were new territory for me, and I did a lot of research, as you just both with imagery and talking to people and reading, because I wanted to get the details right. I wanted it to feel authentic, and the best compliment I've been paid by the Marines that have seen the film so far is that we did get it right, which is great to hear.
That's great.
But that was a challenge, and actually, a double challenge in the sense of trying to create scenes in Iraq, in Louisiana. It's kind of a complete contradiction in terms. But then, as you say, there's a big sort of action set piece thing that happens late in the movie, and again, that was exciting to confront that as a director and figure out, well, how do I do this? This is new to me. And then, in the complete opposite to those, there's these quite full-on love scenes, which again, I was going to bring that
up. I was going to bring that up. They're really good. The sex scenes are good.
Well, they're just. Oh, I'm so glad. They're good. I like to hear that.
I got it.
I wanted something. I wanted something hot and a bit edgy and.
You did it.
You did it. Explosive, really. When they. Oh, good.
You really did.
Glad of that endorsement.
Oh, I was with two guys who are not film critics. I mean, I'm an actor, a writer. These guys are, they produce my show and they want to be producers. And these are just two regular guys. And they're like, I can't believe he got away with those love scenes in a PG-13 movie.
I know.
People thought they were hot.
Just on the borderline. Yeah. we had to make a few tiny little trims, but really, I was very pleased with what, and I'm glad of it because I feel like maybe they look at the overall thing. I mean, sure, there's definite elements you're not allowed to show or see, but I mean, the whole picture has heart to it.
Yeah.
At least that's my intention, is that it's and there's little enough of this kind of film made these days, and it's a great sort of antidote in a sense to a lot of things that are just pure kind of hard-hitting action, cartoon sort of special effects-driven pieces, But that's not the world I travel in. I like to work in these movies that are about feelings and people's emotions and relationships and so on.
You really do. I mean, Snow Falling on Cedars, Shine. I mean, you really do. You like to work in those kind of worlds. And I was going to ask you, you took a break between 2001 and 2007. Were you just not finding any projects you really wanted to do? What was the case with that?
Well, actually, just with the dates, I mean, really, I actually shot No Reservations in 2005, 2006.
Okay.
So there was probably 3 years where I didn't make a movie. It was a matter of finding the material that I wanted to do. I also, I was doing a lot of work in. Funnily enough, I'm sitting in a car on Madison Avenue, but a lot of work in commercials for that period, and that was very instructive and very entertaining, and I enjoyed that, and then I like to move between different disciplines, because since No Reservations, then 2006, of course, I've done quite a number of different things with the documentary on Philip Glass, for example, and
The Boys Are Back with Clive Owen.
The Boys Are Back, which was with Clive Owen back in Australia, which I really enjoyed doing, and then now this film, and so it's about a mix of things in a way, and I just enjoy stepping from one world to the other and seeing whether I can pull it off. And
I wanted to tell you, I'd love to see you do more stories like The Boys Are Back, because I think you have a really good idea of what it's like to be a man. This is a really good movie, The Boys Are Back. If people haven't seen it, Clive Owen gives one of his best performances. It's well written. It's well directed. Yeah, he's great. And, I mean, I just feel like I like when you tell those stories, like Snow Falling on Cedars with Ethan Hawke. All your male leads are, I love them. They're not all the,
well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I just like how you.
Well, I love. They're all flawed men. I mean, they're men who they're real because of those flaws. Yeah. And it's interesting you point that out, because it's. It doesn't occur to me rationally when I take on material that there's this underlying thematic element, if you like. But when I think about it, that's what they are. They're men who are struggling to find a path, and you can go back to Shine and David Helfrich.
Right.
I mean, the same thing, this flawed hero, and there's something very appealing about that in a world of the macho leading man guy who solves it all with a gun or whatever. It doesn't. That world doesn't interest me so much.
No, it obviously doesn't.
Removed,
Even Zach Effron in this film.
So I mean, here's Zach Effron playing this guy who's been sort of damaged by his experience as the Marine, not physically, but he's
broken mentally. He's broken.
Scarred.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a very that's a huge issue in this country, is really the aftermath of this war is going to really continue to take its toll, because, and I take my hat off to Nicholas Sparks, embracing that in his genre, the fact that the social fabric in this country is so marked by the war experience and what families across the breadth of this country have gone through, and so I think the flawed male hero, clearly, you've actually hit on something. I've got to think about this some more.
Well,
it's definitely an interest of mine.
Yeah, I think you're really good with it. I mean, your films, to me, what I really like about you is your films, to me, are like reading a great book. It's like going back and reading Twain or Dickinson or whatever, where you're taken to this, like, you're very good at creating worlds, and you're very good at dealing with broken or just flawed men. And I just really like it. I really like it. I think you do a great job with that.
Well, thanks. I mean, the part of the process of sort of executing a film is, in my mind, about that very thing, which is creating a world in which people can immerse themselves, almost in a at its best. I think cinema can be as powerful as a dream, where you're not even aware that you're dreaming. It just feels like you're in that world.
Yeah.
And certainly, I certainly tried that with Snow Falling on Cedars as a sort of completely immersive kind of feeling of that world. And in a sense, with The Lucky One, Logan steps into the world of this woman, Beth, and her family, her little boy, the ex-husband who's a bully, and the grandmother who's got the dry wit. That he becomes a part of their world. In a sense, almost it's kind of like Shane. That character, that archetypal character who is the stranger who comes to town and starts to affect people's lives in a way and change them for the better. And that really appeals to me, that whole idea of immersing the audience in a world that you've hopefully also populated with really interesting characters, interesting people, and really good actors. That's what I love. I mean, really working with.
Yeah, and you're talking about how you build your projects. I found something interesting, and I had a question for you about it. It appears you work with a different cinematographer every time you work.
I know.
Is there a reason for it?
Either they hate me so much they won't work with me again, or I'll tell you what really happens is that they're always down busy. Every time I'm ready to do a movie, I'll call my last guy or my favorite guy, and they're always busy. So what is that? It's not fair.
I don't know, but you get lucky because they're all good. They're all good.
It's quite a process. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and look, Alar Kivilo, who shot The Lucky One, is he's a master of light, and we had a great sort of. You have to feel a great rapport with the cinematographer because you're telling a visual tale. You want to be on the same page, and I really found that with Alar, and he understood how I like to do things visually, and where often much of the story is told through the imagery and less through dialogue,
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what filmmaking should be. You know what I used to do when I was a student? I would watch old films on TV. I would turn the sound off and just watch and see if I could really understand the story. And the best films are always like, you can do that. You know what's going on, even though you don't know the detail. You get it through the images.
Yeah.
So I've tried to make that part of my filmmaking, thinking, would people get it if they turned the sound off?
Yeah, and sometimes you can do the opposite and to tell the story if the sound's really good, like with Aliens or Seven, the film Seven. Like everything that's going on just by the soundtrack.
Exactly. It's an equally, that powerful discipline.
I was going to ask you, too. I mean, you're really good when it comes to male-female chemistry. I want to bring up as an example, and if people haven't seen it, but it was a big hit, but I don't know if people seen it, if everyone's seen it on my demographic here, but No Reservations with Catherine Zeta-Jones and Aaron Eckhart. You do a great...
They really did hit it off, didn't they? It was great.
Yeah. How much do you have to do with when it comes to this chemistry thing again? Because I know you said, Zach and Taylor get together, there's a chemistry testing, but how much of it has to do with you, do you think? Do you direct them at all? Do you help them with the process?
Well, you try. I mean, the actual the matter of the chemistry of it is really something that's hard to direct. I mean, like, if people don't connect, it's hard to make it evident that they are. But certainly what I do is I try to create, as the director, I try to create the best possible environment that I can for my actors, that they can feel, secure in the sense that they can abandon themselves to the role and not feel, it's a very vulnerable thing, I think, acting. I think it's very exposing. I mean, sometimes physically, as in, do love scenes or whatever, but mostly just mentally and emotionally, it's very raw and exposing. And, if a film set is a crazy, confusing, can be a noisy, place, but I like to try to keep it as quiet and calm as possible in order to give the actors this environment, to do what you've cast them for.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want. You want them to bring their full range of personality to the role. And, so with Catherine and Aaron in No Reservations, I mean, it was great to see the connection between them. I wasn't lucky enough to even test them together, to be honest.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it different when they're just two people that are already casted?
Yeah, but they were. Well, Catherine was attached to that project, but Aaron I cast. But there's a bit of a wing and a prayer and a hope.
Right. Roll the dice.
And it did.
Yeah.
This time with Taylor Schilling in The Lucky One, I was able to actually do a screen test with her opposite Zach, where I could get the proof before we started, and that was obviously a great relief, to see it. It was like gold dust. I thought, wow,
that's perfect.
Now we're off. Now we're off and running.
I love that.
Really,
it's like gold
really
dust.
Special.
I like that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you. I think you were one of the few directors in Hollywood, and I really mean this. This is a Mike Binder, who owns Detroit Coney Dog and is a director, writer, producer, who I talk to all the time about the film business, and we always have an interesting conversation about how I don't think the film business right now is trying to create new stars, or not well enough. And you are one of the few directors that always works with new talent. And I want to bring.
I love identifying new talent, and it's such an interesting challenge. But when an actress like Taylor Schilling comes your way, I mean, it's jaw dropping. You go like, where has this girl been? I mean, she is fantastic. And the interesting thing is when you're making a studio picture, preferably they want the reassurance of a well-known name, and it's going to be recognizable to the public. And Warner Brothers, would much prefer that one cast really well-known entities.
Sure.
And when they saw Taylor, I mean, they couldn't but agree with me. It's like, this girl is fantastic, and they totally endorsed the choice, which was just great. But it takes a little bit of courage to say, well, we're going to really invest in this person and, and bring her to a wide public. And I sort of feel, watching Taylor in The Lucky One, that she's, looking at someone. I think and I hope we look back on this moment and go like, wow, that's where it began, because
I think
you will. She's destined to be a movie star.
I think so. She's not only sexy, she's a really good actress. She was really good in this role. She really was. She really was. She showed a lot of range. I'll even admit I was joking around a couple of weeks ago. I was like Zach Effron and some Taylor girl, but then I saw this, and I gotta tell you the jokes. I've said to my friends, I go, she's good. She's good.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not even just.
She's a wonderful surprise, which is great.
Yeah, it's not even just this film, though. I mean, even in your last film, you had Zoe Kravitz, and yesterday I had on the show, I had on Dominique Garcia, Andy Garcia's daughter. And,
okay.
And I just feel like these actresses that are up and coming right now could be some of the best. And I just really hope they all get discovered and they get it. I'd love to see a Zoe Kravitz lead movie. I'd love to see a Dominique Garcia lead. Right. And these women, and Taylor Schilling, these women, I think acting for women is going to be at an all-time high in the future. I really do. I think some of the.
I hope so. And listen, I mean, the main, as long as they sort of stay out of rehab and stay out of jail, there'll be more choices.
I just think we're growing up in a. Well, I'm growing up here. I'm 28 in a renaissance of just great female performers. I really do.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's great possibilities ahead with them, and really look forward to seeing them.
Yeah. Have you thought about your next project, or are you so busy with the press tour and the opening of the movie?
Yeah, it's sort of with the movie opening tomorrow, and my fingers are, all my digits are crossed. I have to tell you.
I don't think you got to worry. I don't think, Scott. I'm telling you right now. I'm not the best at this, but I don't think you got to worry, pal.
Well,
I really don't.
That's great. I'll maybe talk to you next week and see what happens.
I was going to say, that may not make you feel any better, but I'm telling you, I think, honestly, if I'm gonna use my gambling instincts here as a gambling addict, I'd go 20 mil plus opening weekend. I think so.
Wow. Well, I'm up for that. That'll be great.
I think it's going to be a great weekend.
It's been great to talk to you. I just really appreciate your point of view on all this. It's great.
Well, I appreciate that, Scott. I just hope in the million interviews you get to do, this one just stands out a little different for you, and you get to enjoy it.
It's been good. You know what the trick is? I think what you've got is great, which is it's a good conversation.
Oh, well, see that I only do this show so I can get out there as an actor and a writer. So really, I'm not a really good interviewer. I'm not Charlie Rose. So I just want to talk to people about their films. I just want to talk because that's all I can do.
No, that's all we want, So it's great.
Well, we would love to have.
You should send me a headshot.
I would love to do that. I don't know, Scott Hicks, you cast so many good-looking people. I don't know if I'm fitting in there, but I will. You know what, though,
I'll be the judge. I'll be the judge of that.
I would love you to come in to Coney Dog sometime when you're in Los Angeles and sit down and talk about film and stuff. I think that'd be great.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, we'd love to do a full interview with you where I could go through your whole career, because I really do think you fly under the radar, and you may do that on purpose, but I think for the film students that listen to our show, for the fans out there, but especially for the film students, I feel you have so much to offer. I really do feel you're one of the best directors right now. I mean that. I really do mean that.
Look, sincerely, I really appreciate that, and thank you very much.
So I'd love to have you in sometime. You let me know whenever.
I will. I look forward to the next time. So thanks again. And
thank you, Scott. And
all the best for now.
The lucky one, of course, in theaters tomorrow. Zach Effron, Taylor Schilling, Blythe Danner, Scott Hicks directed. You got to see this movie. Women are going to go nuts over it. Nuts. And you know what? I took two guys to see the movie, and these are manly men, and they really liked it. I'm not shitting you.
That's
so... I wish you nothing but the best. Big opening this weekend, Scott. We'll talk in the future.
Perfect.
All right.
Bye for now.
Thank you, sir.